Hello everyone and welcome back. So in this video we'll be going over 5 different setups in Houdini. Hopefully there will be a tip for everyone, so let's get started. So the first thing we're going to have a look is on how to import a camera from stage to the object level. Let me just resume the render. As you can see, I have an animated camera in here, and with the camera position set up, and I want to import it to the object level. So what we can do is go to the object level, and in here we can use a LOP import camera, and we will go in here and go to camera 2 in this case and pick the camera 2, and as you can see we have the camera imported. And if we go to the LOP import camera 1, we can show the timeline. Let's go again to the camera, and as you can see we have the camera here with the animation and everything. This can be useful if you want to export your camera from the stage, and that's the only way I know that you can do that apart from USD. So now I'm gonna show you how I created this stretched out look in some sort of rock wall. So the idea is simple. I'm starting with a cube that I remeshed, or a box, and then I'm transforming it. As you can see, I am using the scale along the z-axis to make it bigger along the z-axis, and also shear. I am introducing some shear to have this skewed effect. Then I'm doing the normal RBD fracture, and if I show the attributes, as you can see I have the normal result of the RBD fracture. But in here, before fracturing the object, I'm in the transform, I'm outputting the X-form attribute, so I can use a match size and transform it back to the original shape, that way getting the distortion for free. So in here in the match size I can restore the transform and use the same attribute. Then it's quite easy. I can assemble the pieces and group the front ones, as you can see, by just using the bounding box on the Z and then blasting away those primitives. And from there I can start to reshape the different parts, and in the end I can end up with something like this, which is somewhat interesting in my opinion. So you can get this file on my Patreon if you're interested in looking at the setup. It's nothing too complicated, but if you're interested, it will be available on my Patreon. So I downloaded some 16K HDRs from the internet, and they are too big to use, at least in my scenes, so I'm going to convert them to 2K and 4K. So for that I'm using a topnet, and in this case I can use a file pattern and load in the all the files, so star, in that specific folder. So I can generate the nodes, and you will see I will have the file, the two files, and I will have the directory, extension and file name that I can use in the output node, so for both textures. And then I can just use the image magic nodes, and in the output file paths I can say at the directory, so the folder. Then I can create a custom folder named converted, then file name dot file name, and then the extension. Ignore this for now because, as I told you, I need to to create two versions of the file, so one with 2K and another one with 4K. So for that I'm using a loop, so just create a for each loop with feedback, but in this case I'm not going to use the feedback option, so I'm unticking feedback and creating two iterations. And as you can see, I have the loop iteration in here variable that I can use. So in here I can go to the width and multiply 2K by the loop iteration plus 1, since I don't want to multiply it by 0, which is the first iteration. So I will have 2K, and then in the second iteration I will have 4K. And as you can see, I'm also naming the output file with that loop iteration ID, let's say. And I'm doing the same for the height, but you don't need, because there's a preserve aspect ratio in here. So if I cook this node right now, and it's cooked, it took about 10 seconds, I don't know. And as you can see, I have now a folder called converted, and I have a 2K version and a 4K version. If I enable 1:1, as you can see, it's much bigger. And for the other file I also have a 2K version. If I enable here, I am using a full HD monitor, so, and the 4K version in here. So yeah, that's how you can convert your files to a more manageable format, let's say. So now we're going to have a look on how to tile noises, to make noises tileable textures. So for that I have just a plane that is 1 by 1 in here, and I subdivided and created some UVs so I can export it later as a texture. And in here I have another grid which is 3 by 3, and I'm extracting the centroid and copying 2 points so I can see the tileable texture. As you can see in here, I already have one set up, but I'm going to start over. So let's go with a point VOP. And I'm gonna create a unified noise, static in this case. Connect the position to the position and the noise to the CD. So this is not tiling by default. And to tile it, what you need to do is set it to periodic, and you need to copy the frequency and use it in the periodic. And as you can see, the simplex is not a tileable noise, although it has this periodic option. So for tileable noises, you will see you have Berlin. As you can see, it's already tiling. Let me just change the frequency to something like 16, and you can see is tiling. If I uncheck periodic, is not tiling. And other noises that are tiling, you can just experiment. Whirly cellular is, as you can see, but if I increase a bit, you can see it starts to break the tiling if you look closely. That's because you can only have integers in the frequency. So as you can see now, it works again. And you can obviously have an offset. And you can also introduce some fractal. But if you look closely, it already broke the tiling effect. So what you need to do is set the linearity to an integer value, and you get the tiling back. So it's just some rules you have to follow. And let's decrease the frequency. Oops. let's say 2 by 2. And now you want to distort this noise. So what you can do is create another unified noise static, and connect it to the position, set it to a 3D noise since we want to distort, and let's say sparse convolution, and change it to periodic, and let's copy and paste and increase this to 3 and create an add node and add it to the position. So as you can see, it's creating the distortion but is not tiling properly. So what we need to do is change the noise type, because the sparse convolution is not tileable. So we need to change it to Berlin flow, or simplex is not tileable either. So you can change it to Worley, but the best one would be the Berlin flow. And then you can, if it's distorting too much, you can go to the amplitude and change it, decrease it quite a bit, and maybe reduce the frequency too. So that's how you do it. And maybe we can change this noise type. And we get this sort of patterns. So in here I created this one, which is also tiling. And the only thing I did different was changing the noise type and the frequency. As you can see, all numbers again, no floating point numbers, which causes the tiling to break. So yeah, that's about it. Tiling noises in Houdini that you can export from Houdini and use as displacement maps or anything you need. So in this one I'm gonna show you how you can easily emit objects randomly using Vellum. In this case I am using it to emit some debris and fall over between the tiles. So as you can see, I have a file in here, a Alembic file, where I imported some deadlifts. Then I'm unpacking and converting it to polygons. As you can see, I have the UVs. Then just for quick visualization, I'm using a UV quick shade, deleting any small lifts that I don't need. Then I'm deleting everything but keeping the normals and the UV and the materials, using a name to name it before the simulation, and a connectivity. So as you can see, if I change this to class and remove this visualization, we have a class for each, a different number for each leaf. Then we can use it to copy over to some lines that are animated or randomized. First of all, in the point jitter, I'm using $f times something, just a random number, so they jitter up and down along the z-axis, I mean. And then I'm using a transform, but this is just to move them up, no animation. And then setting some p-scale, and in the normals is where I'm randomizing also to have some random orientation. So in the global seed, $f times some random number, and we have this animated thing going on. And let me see, in the resample it's always 10. Then I'm copying to points those objects, so using an attribute from pieces, set to random. And in the copy to points, I'm using the piece attribute as we covered before. So it's copying random leaves to the points, and this is the result. Then I'm doing a Vellum clothes, just default settings, and I'm outputting the geo and the constraints in here. Then using this geometry as a collider in a Vellum solver. As you can see, no inputs for the Vellum geometry or the constraints. And in the Vellum solver, I'm using a Vellum source, and for every 10 frames I'm emitting, and I'm loading in the subpath of the geo and the constraints. And if we have a look at this and make sure to visualize this, we are indeed emitting the leaves and the twigs at each 10 frames. As you can see, it's pretty slow because I'm recording, but if I have a look at this simplified example in here, which is just the same but some simpler objects and a grid, and I use a Vellum solver, you can see, if I disable the visualization, so as you can see, it's emitting every 10 frames, because you don't want to emit every frame, so you want to emit from time to time. So yeah guys, that's basically it. Hopefully you picked up something new. So as always, you will be able to get the files on my Patreon, as you can see in here. I have a lot of other files that you can download. And you can also check my shop, where you will be able to find 3 different products right now, and they are pretty cheap, as you can see. So if you want to support the channel, have a look at those. So yeah, that's basically it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you around.